Wisconsin Congressman Mike Gallagher sits on the House Intelligence Committee and joins us now with his assessment. Congressman, why can't China bring itself to condemn the invasion of a sovereign nation and the killing of innocent women and children?
Well, because, of course, China wants to do the same with Taiwan. And I fear that China will be emboldened by Putin's invasion of Ukraine, because when the dust settles, despite the very real bravery on display by the Ukrainian people, deterrence in this case failed, Trey. The Biden administration thought sanctions and tweets would be enough to deter, but they failed to apply the kind of hard power that would have deterred Putin from launching his war in the first place. By the way, a war that could still escalate and involve us at any moment. And I think it should serve as a reminder that authoritarian countries with leaders who have no checks and balances, like Russia and China, and with leaders who think human life is cheap, can launch invasions that seem impossible for us to imagine. So if the Biden administration remains wedded to this strategy, this approach that they're calling integrated deterrence, which is just liberal code for cutting hard power, I fear deterrence will fail again in an even bigger stage, which is the conflict over Taiwan. And the lesson we need to learn now, the lesson we need to learn yesterday, is that our best opportunity to deter China is by arming Taiwan and arming ourselves now before they think about launching an invasion. And it's not too late to do that. It just comes down to our willingness to invest in hard power, as well as our willingness to abandon all this anti-America woke nonsense. We need to wake up and realize we live in a dangerous world filled with bad guys, evil KGB thugs like Putin and genocidal communists like Xi Jinping. But we, America, we are the good guys.
Congressman, you mentioned some rough actors. I think you wrote a letter about one. I think you wrote the Biden administration about Iran and the continuing negotiations over nuclear weapon. Tell us why you wrote that letter. I mean, you're one of the more reasonable guys in the House. So if you're animated, there must be something to be animated about.
Because, well, today you had Putin's lead negotiator with Iran in Vienna bragging that he swindled us. So here's the hard truth. President Biden stood in front of the American people after the Russian invasion, and he promised to turn Vladimir Putin into a pariah. Well, because of the fact that we continue to rely on the Russians to negotiate with Iran, it turns out that was a lie. We have sent our negotiating squad to Vienna to negotiate the Iran deal through the Russians. And the Russians are demanding that their flow of weapons, commodities, and trade with Iran be exempted from any U.S. sanctions. So Russia will get a massive win with this deal. They will step into the vacuum that our appeasement creates in the Middle East. But, Trey, that may not even be the worst part. This deal will also be a massive win for China, because China wants crude suppliers they can control, like Iran. They just launched a 25-year economic cooperation pact with Iran that's largely dependent on us lifting sanction. This will be a humiliation for America and a gift to our enemies. And think about this. Because of the bravery of the Ukrainian people, President Biden was given something you rarely get in geopolitics, a second chance. But if he signs this deal, if he signs this instrument of simultaneous surrender to Iran, Russia, and China, he will squander that second chance, and America will suffer in the process.
So I want to make sure I understand you correctly, Congressman. We are sanctioning Putin and Russia while we were also relying on them to help get a deal done with Iran. Is that what's going on?
100%. And they're trying to leverage that fact, the leverage they have over us, to set up a sanctions evasion regime in Iran. And think about it. One of the people forget that one of the craziest parts of the 2015 Iran deal is that we depended so heavily on Russia to take enriched uranium from Iran. Well, the same thing could happen in this deal. In fact, we've heard reports that they're going to ship Iranian uranium to Russia. And then if we pull out of the deal in the future, they'll ship it back, or they'll just say game on. Well, I wonder if Putin has an incentive to renege on the agreement. It's like giving Putin the pistol to point in our heads to hold us hostage. It makes absolutely no sense. And again, it undermines everything that President Biden promised with respect to Vladimir Putin.
Congressman Mike Gallagher, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I served with him. He's really measured and thoughtful and reasonable. If he's animated, it gets my attention. Thank you, Congressman, for joining us on a Sunday night.
Thank you.